Minnesota, are you ready? With the 66th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Kellen Mond, quarterback, Texas A&M.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome in. That was Vikings legend John Randall announcing the Vikings Day 2 Round 3 selection of quarterback Kellen Mond of Texas A&M. The 2021 NFL Draft is completed. It is in the books. It is over. There is no more picks to be made, so now it is time to celebrate the players that we did get, and I got to be honest with you, I got to give credit to Rick Spielman and the Vikings. This was a very good draft haul. I like this draft class a lot. This year felt like quality over quantity, versus last year where there was lots of trading down, there was lots of accumulating picks, there was lots of swings of the bat, and they walked away with 15 players. They used the 7th round last year as college free agency, what they call it, undrafted, just because of the pandemic, and they were going to have to do everything virtual. That way they didn't have to chase undrafted free agents. They could use the 7th round to do that. They didn't do that this year. Credit to Rick Spielman for showing some restraint and not trading down and accumulating 7th round picks, because we didn't pick in the 7th round today. Our draft ended at pick 199 in the 6th. So, yeah, it's been an incredible weekend. This was a really fun, really good draft. I feel very confident with the players that we walked away with. I felt like there was a lot of teams that had really good selections. We're going to talk about those in the coming weeks, but today is a focus on the Vikings draft haul, and it begins, I'll just go ahead and run through all of the picks. You see them there on your screen. It begins with the first day one selection, round 1 of Christian Darrisaw. That set the tone. That trade down to 23rd overall with the New York Jets, watching Christian Darrisaw fall down to us anyway, and then using those 2 third-rounders that we got in that trade instead of trading up into the 2nd round. They let the board fall to them, and it fell great. The entire time over the last 3 days, watching this board fall to the Minnesota Vikings at each of their selections felt incredible, because there were so many good quality players that were up at whenever the Vikings made a selection. Christian Darrisaw is the absolute the diamond of the draft. You get Kellen Mond in round 3, pick 66. That was one of the picks that they acquired in the trade down with the Jets. It was basically the 2nd pick of round 3. I think that this is an important selection for a number of reasons, and we're going to go over those when we do an actual introductory video for all of these players. We sort of did one for Christian Darrisaw already, but just to make a long story short, this is an important selection because I think this finally gives the fans some sort of semblance of what the future holds, because it's not Sean Mannion. Sean Mannion's off this roster now. We have a developmental quarterback who is they used high draft capital on to bring in the building. You know, the first quarter of the 3rd round is not where you're playing around. This isn't John David Booty in the 5th. This isn't Jacob Eason in the 4th. This isn't Jake Fromm at the end of the 5th. This is a legitimate, going to be a backup, developmental quarterback who could potentially take over down the road. Now, I'm not saying that round 3 quarterbacks are hits, because they're more often than not. They're not more often than not. Everybody's going to talk about Russell Wilson. He is the exception to the rule. The rule is that these quarterbacks usually don't pan out. I'm not trying to say he's going to be a savior. I'm just saying I'm excited because, 1, quarterbacks are fun. It's great to talk about them. It's nice to have a rookie. It's nice to have a new face that isn't Sean Mannion. And number 2, this gives us a window into what life after Kirk Cousins could be, and it gives us a window into what 2022 could be, even if this season doesn't go according to plan. So it's a very important selection that they made, and I'm glad that they made it. With their next pick, they got Chaz Surratt, the linebacker, Wyatt Davis, guard from Ohio State. That's an excellent pick. We can finally stop talking about this team not addressing the offensive line, because they did it in dramatic fashion. Wyatt Davis is a steal at 86. It absolutely is a steal. I don't care what anybody says about the year that he had this past season at Ohio State. I know it was a down year. He was projected early in mock drafts, last fall, to be going in the 1st round, and we get him at round 3, pick 86. I believe on the consensus board that was done by Arif Hassan at The Athletic, he was like 54 on the consensus board by the time he was selected. So it's a steal. It's a walk-away steal. We don't have to worry about Dakota Dozier starting this year. potentially. He played primarily right guard at Ohio State. You move Ezra Cleveland to left guard. That way you don't have two rookies side by side. And then we'll talk more about why they went after the lineman that they did in the weeks to come. But that's an amazing selection. I like Patrick Jones a lot, the edge rusher out of Pittsburgh. I think that's a great pick. Keen Wanagu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the running back from Iowa State, return specialist, very fast, very nimble dude. Cameron Bynum, the corner from Cal, who is going to be converting to a safety because Rick Spielman announced him as a safety, which I thought was interesting. Janarius Robinson, another edge rusher from Florida State. Smith-Marsette, the wide receiver from Iowa, very excited about this guy, another return specialist. He's got lightning speed. Pretty good receiver out of Iowa, so I'm excited to get him back, or well, not back, but just in general. Zach Davidson in round 5, the tight end punter Division II hybrid is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. A tight end punter hybrid from Division II. Basically, a lot of these day 3 picks for the Vikings were projects who have insane athleticism, so it'll be interesting to see if any of these hit. But that's just, Zach Davidson is going to be a wild one to watch in training camp. And then in round 6 at pick 199, you get Jalen Twynum, the defensive tackle from Pitt. I like this as well. This doesn't feel like a reach. This feels like a guy who probably could have went late day 2, even early today, but he ends up falling down draft boards for, a variety of reasons. But Jalen Twynum, coming into the situation with our defensive line, I think they would be able to get the most out of him. It probably spells doom for some of the players that are currently on the roster, like a Blake Lynch or Hercules Maafala. Hopefully I'm saying that right in the moment. Usually when I walk into these difficult names, I prep before, but I didn't prep that one. That was just spur of the moment. But yeah, so that is the draft haul. It is very impressive. I have to commend Rick Spielman for doing this offseason the way that he did. Now, we were all sort of down in the dumps, early in free agency, even late in free agency. We were like, when are you going to address the offensive line? And we all felt that they were pigeonholed into taking offensive line early in the draft, and they ended up doing that. But I was in, such the belief that it was going to be a defensive player because they are who they are. And I was fully expecting Mike Zimmer to convince the front office and Rick Spielman that more defense was needed in order for them to get back to the playoffs. But thankfully, that's not how it went. They had 11 picks. They spent 6 on offense. They spent 5 on defense. And really, they got some great offensive players. They got some great defensive players. Kellen Mond, who we've already talked about. Chaz Surratt, who is a converted quarterback to a linebacker. Patrick Jones is great. Really, also what they did was they addressed special teams, because special teams last year, especially in the return game, was just abysmal. It was just, you might as well not even have had it, right? The Mike Hughes injury happens. You can't rely on him anymore. Amir Abdullah, Chad Beebe, just KJ Osborne was a late draft pick last year whose intent, they intended for him to be a return specialist. That never panned out. This year they decide we're not going to wait on special teams contributors, especially in the return game. We are going to address that immediately. They get 2 great ones with Wangu. I got to learn how to say that, from Iowa State, and Smith-Marsette from Iowa. I think we got contributors. I think we got contributors in this draft all over the board. I don't think we got anybody who's really going to be out of place. I think all of these guys can definitely contribute, except for Kellen Mond, who is not going to be in a competition with Kirk Cousins to be the starter. Spielman shut that shit down immediately in the post-draft press conference after day 2. But everybody else, I think, can come in and play a role and contribute, even if they are not a day 1 starter. Christian Darrisaw, day 1 starter. Chaz Surratt can definitely fight with Troy Dye for that linebacker spot to replace Eric Wilson. Wyatt Davis, I think, is going to be a starter day 1, whether it's left or right guard. Patrick Jones, the edge position battle opposite of Danielle Hunter in this training camp is going to be phenomenal. We've got DJ Wanham, Stephen Weatherly, Jalen Holmes, and now we've got Patrick Jones, and we've got Janarius Robinson. So there's going to be just an electric battle for that starting spot opposite of Danielle Hunter. This is a great draft. This really is a great draft. I can't get over how good this is. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this good? Could it have been better? Are you upset? There's a couple players that I'm I'm upset that we didn't get, there's a couple undrafted free agents that I hope we get. I'm pretty sure Cade Johnson, the wide receiver from South Dakota State, went undrafted, so I'm hoping we're able to get him. I could be wrong. I wasn't paying attention to the end of the 7th, so there's a potential that I could be wrong and he was selected. But if he is an undrafted free agent, I think he's the first phone call you got to make. So very excited for, we addressed everything. Offensive line, we've got a quarterback too. We've got some good defensive depth pieces. We've got a running back to replace Mike Boone. We've got a corner that's going to be converting to safety, so there's some versatility in there. Even if, you know, we need him to play corner, he probably can. Yeah, overall, just outstanding, fantastic, phenomenal. I don't have any more adjectives that I could really use to describe it. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.